The AstraZeneca phase 3 trial has been put on hold. To understand this better, we've got Kiran Mazumdar Shaw joining us. Kiran, great to have you with us this morning, particularly as this is something everyone's going to be concentrating on today. Help us understand, at this stage of the trial, what could possibly be the factors that have made them grind this to a halt, since this seemed to be one of the vaccines that was closest to coming to fruition.
This is the reality check that everyone has been talking about in this medical and scientific world. I think people need to understand that, vaccine trials have to be carefully conducted, and every serious adverse event has to be investigated whilst the trial is going on, because, this is actually being inoculated on healthy people. So that is why we have to be very careful. These are not people who have got coronavirus. These are people who you want to immunize against coronavirus. So it's very important to do the trial properly and safely, because the main, data points that people look for in any trial, especially vaccine trials, is safety and efficacy data. And it's about safety first. And that is why I think you have to be, this is not unusual, because this happens in every trial, and that's why it takes so long. When you try to shrink timelines into the kind of, timelines we're talking about today, that is where the risk is. That is where the safety risk is. And that is why these kind of, holds show you how difficult it is to develop vaccines. And for that matter, any drug. This happens even in the case of any drug where any, patient who develops serious adverse events will have to be investigated, and therefore such trials are always put on hold. But hopefully it is something that will be investigated and resolved very fast, and then the trial resume. But I think this actually is a important event that people have to take note of, that it is not easy to just rapidly develop vaccines, because these are the kind of things that you have to investigate.
Ms. Shaw, good morning. Nikon this side, and thank you for sharing your note on COVID experience, something which I read a couple of times to also understand, how you dealt with the disease. So thank you for writing that note, and good to connect with you. My question, Ms. Shaw, is now, so do you think the news which has come from AstraZeneca last night is a polite reminder that despite whatever we may try to do in order to really fast-track the vaccine development, vaccine cannot be fast-tracked, it's a process, and unfortunately that process will take its own time?
Well, that is what the pharmaceutical and the medical world has been talking about over the last few months. But I think people are anxious, people are impatient, and obviously everyone wants a vaccine, but I think this is a reminder as to why you cannot compress timelines and what are the dangers of compressing timelines. Because if you disregard such events and just continue to enroll patients, you might suddenly find larger and larger numbers having the same problem. And then that basically is not good for the vaccine. In fact, the vaccine cannot be approved when you see so many adverse events, which might not happen in the first month or the second month. You might even get it after a few months. That is why you have to wait. And that is why people are saying that you should not expect a vaccine by the end of the year, because it's too short. As one of the leading figures in the pharma world said, he said you cannot compress 1 year's data into 3 months, because this is about human lives. This is about the human body. And you have to wait for certain readouts.
So, Ms. Shaw, one goes by what you've been maintaining, that we should not expect a vaccine before the year end. So then are we looking at, let's say, March or April is the time when it will really be in mass, because, there's going to be development time. I mean, the fact that there are some medical companies who are preempting the vaccine development and they were already building capacity, it's going to be a bit upsetting for them as well. So I'm just trying to understand the process. Now, are we looking at, let's say, March, April, even May before it will be widely available?
See, it was always discussed that even if you get an expedited vaccine, which is, sails through the first 3 months of safety and efficacy data, it would only have got emergency use authorization for limited use. The actual safer vaccine that would have been looked at for approval would have been the March-April timeline, because
So a reality check, as Ms. Shaw said, and we'll try and continue to get you voices on that through the day, but she said these are real issues and possibilities when it comes to the medical world and some of these health trials.